Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Horrifying Games. My name is Daniel, and on this channel I'll be reviewing horror games, both old and new, to tell you whether I think these games are scary or not. Bye Sweet Carole is a game I became excited for back in 2024. It was announced as a horror game with beautiful classic Disney 2D visuals, and from what I saw, I was thinking this would be something like Clock Tower with a Disney princess. The game released recently on October 9th of this year, and it's very different from what I expected. Is that good or bad? And most importantly, is this game horrifying? Let's find out together in this horrifying review of Bye Sweet Carole.
Carole Simmons?
In this game, you play as Lana Benton, an unwilling guest at Bunny Hall Orphanage during the early 1900s. Lana is considered an outcast by her classmates and other faculty members. However, not everything is bad for Lana, because she could always rely on her best friend Carole to cheer her up. All of this changes one day though, when Carole goes missing, supposedly having run away from the orphanage. Lara wonders why her best friend left her behind, a question that compels her to begin her strange journey. And in true Disney fashion, she suddenly finds herself talking to and understanding animals.
Are you speaking to me? Princess? No, I mean... I believe so.
Lana is told that she's the princess of a fantastic kingdom called Carole. Its denizens asking her for aid, while a sinister figure who names himself Mr. Kin will do everything in his power to bring Lana's kingdom to ruin.
Princess of a rotten kingdom.
As you can see, this is a horror game that tells a story where reality and fantasy mingle. Another example of a horror game that does something similar is Silent Hill 2, where the protagonist, James Sunderland, had to deal with real-life issues coated in a supernatural glaze. Now, this game delves into some very complex issues, like the feminist political movement taking place within the British nation at the time. I don't mind it when video games take a real-life event and weave it into a fictional setting, so long as the story is good and the scares are not overshadowed by it. Also, I personally don't like it when games get too political. I prefer stories that focus on a more personal journey, to see how the protagonists fare against their own inner demons. I think Bye Sweet Carole manages to do that with Lana, but sometimes it could get a bit heavy-handed.
A roar, then a daring plunge, and a little girl, too small and inadequate for that world of ash, tar, and cold of which she was a part.
Miss Benton, I am pleased to note that my voice is so soft that it encourages restful sleep in class. Would you be so kind as to share your wisdom on today's topic with your fellow classmates?
There was a man made of tar, an owl, and a bunny with glasses.
Such impertinence. Home economics, ladies' etiquette. Chapter 9. Be always beautiful, perfumed, and impeccable. All of you young women of today are privileged to witness the deeds of the great men of your era. The grand discoveries, the phenomenon of industrialization, progress. Soon you will be wives and then mothers of great men who will go down in history. And you, Miss Benton, make fun of it.
Overall, I think the story does lend itself to be a decent horror story. So in that area at least, I had almost no issues with the game. The aesthetic of the game is initially breathtaking. It does look like an old-style Disney cartoon, more specifically in the Don Bluth fashion, which is exactly what I expected. However, the problems begin the more you look at it. I know this is a small indie game, so no one should hope to see absolute Game of the Year perfection, but my problem with it comes once you remember that this is a horror game, and Bye Sweet Carole just doesn't look all that scary. Even enemy designs I thought were disappointing by most horror standards. Remember, I'm not criticizing them based on artistic merit, just on how scary they look, and oftentimes I'd either be laughing or smiling, not getting scared.
I really like this mortal kingdom.
Sound design does fit the aesthetic of Disney's old classics, capturing the magic of childhood nostalgia. Still, having this style of music and sound in a horror game is a very challenging endeavor, and one at which I believe Bye Sweet Carole failed. Not once was I ever unsettled or even jump-scared by any of it.
So I really am dreaming. What's this? Carola? Who are you? Stop!
Ooh, scary. Are you scared, guys? This is scary. Overall, having this type of visuals and sound in a horror game makes it very difficult for the players to feel scared, especially if you're a horror game fan with quite a few horror titles under your belt. To me, these aspects of the game were a hard miss. Gameplay in Bye Sweet Carole is as simple as it gets. You'll be progressing through the levels, doing some basic platforming, and fetching items needed in order to solve the puzzles. All of this while avoiding enemy detection. Oh my god! Oh my god! Can transform into a little bunny! Along the way, Lana will also come across a few allies, some of which feature unique gameplay mechanics of their own. As I mentioned before, it's all very standard, and I never found myself stuck or not knowing what to do next. I also have to say that this is not a very difficult or stressful game. There are plenty of checkpoints, and dying shouldn't be a concern. Just so you know, this is not a good thing in a horror game, as the stakes are never high enough that you should be crapping your pants if you ever get found out by enemies. And that is Bye Sweet Carole in a nutshell. So, do I think this game is scary? My final verdict is that Bye Sweet Carole is not horrifying. Maybe I had too many expectations for this game. I wasn't hyped for it, but I did think it looked interesting and unique. Which it is, just not as a horror game. I would even say that this is not a horror game at all. It is more of a mystery game. So if you enjoy unveiling the story of a character in a setting that mixes fantasy and reality, I would say give it a try. Just don't expect to be scared by it.
The sweet bunny did not breathe. She stood there at the bow, contemplating that spectacular view.
What happened to you? I need to know. Why did you leave me?
Can transform into a little bunny?